are we at attendance? So. Noel, present. Josh, present. Stephen, present. Brian, present. Oh, 100%. Regarding the agenda for today's meeting, is there action on that agenda? I'll move to approve. Got a motion?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Josh and Stephen to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Also, the minutes, item D of the December 15th meeting of the Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals.
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second.
Had a motion by Stephen and a second by Brian to approve the minutes of the December 15th meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Great. Before we get started with regular business, we just state for the record, the Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals hears and acts on appeals for variances from city zoning code requirements. The members of the board are appointed, and this board acts as a quasi-judicial body during these appeals, which means that appeals might be presented somewhat like a case is presented in court, and the board acts as a judge and determines whether to grant the appeal by a majority vote. For each item, we'll hear from the applicant and staff, as well as any additional witnesses where appropriate. If you're the applicant for an item on tonight's agenda, we'll ask you to please come and take a seat at the table when your item is called. And then as we move on to item Appeal 26-02, consideration of possible action on a request from Colin Turlip. Is that the correct pronunciation?
It's a typo, it should be Corbin, but that's okay. It's not me, I'm his partner Kevin, it's Corbin Turlip, but.
Corbin.
Yep.
Let's get that correct. Of Mill Group Holdings, the applicant, and Garrett Bader of Green Bay Real Estate Investments, the property owner, GB Real Estate Investments, property owner, requesting to exceed accessory building front yard setback standards in a commercial zoning district at 2435 West Mason Street. Now, it's the goal of the Board of Appeals to provide and conduct a hearing with fair and form, appearance, and substance. To ensure that this hearing satisfies these goals, each member of the Board of Appeals please confirm the following for this appeal by stating I confirm. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. I have not received any communication from any person or party on this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm. I confirm.
And I confirm. Great. All right, petitioner, please join us at the table and we will hear from staff first. John, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
What's in question here is part of the commercial code, section 44-741, sub B, sub 1. Detached accessory structures shall be located to the side or rear yard of the principal building and are not permitted within the required front yard or within a side yard or abutting street, except for the surface parking lot or structure may be located within a side yard. So after seeking to place accessory structure within the front yard of the parcel between the primary building and the right of way itself on the West Mason frontage. So this is the property in question. Now, what you're seeing here is the old property. These are the aerials from 2023. Sunset redevelopment has happened on the property. This has turned into a set and brew drink shop on this parcel itself. And with that, this is a shot that was taken back in December when it opened. Not too many street views at the time of the place, but of the opening. But this is what the development happens to look like. So this was the site plan that was approved back in summer of this past year. You'll see the darker outlines, the primary building, and then a cooler building, which you can kind of see for those happening here. They're prefab buildings, but buildings in the west that were placed on the property. And what happens is it's folks coming with the drive-through. They can come this way, go around, have their orders placed with folks who happen to be outside taking the orders, driving through and then driving off the property. The property itself happens to be this rectangle where the property lines happen to be on here with shared parking on other parcels. So what the applicant is seeking to do is, this is an updated site plan. As noted, this was approved back in August this past year, and construction happened over the past few months. Is seeking to place a warming hut that happens to be approximately 66 square feet in nature, so accessory use. Up front, in front of the building itself. So it'd be between the primary structure and the right of way. There are leeways as far as things like improvements, i.e. drive-throughs that can be located in front of the building as long as it is behind the 15-foot building and pavement setback, but accessory buildings in the code are designed to be either to the side or to the rear of the property. So you do see that here with the cooler itself, which is located to the side and then back towards the rear of the property itself. I've used some drawings, some elevations of what the warming hut is proposed to look like here. You know, some options that could be done that would meet the code. You know, there are two things. One, the size of that store, the footprints could be larger to attach a warming hut to it, and that would meet the intent of the code. Now, the possibility is they're entitled to have another accessory building because the primary building is still larger than these two buildings combined as far as square footage goes. It just has to be back to the side of the rear of the property, not in front of the building. And so that could be achieved in those two situations. But the applicant is seeking leave to place it in between the primary structure and the right of way.
Questions for staff? All right, let's hear from our petitioner. Would you please state your name and business address is fine for the record?
Sure, you bet. Kevin Schmolt, I'm Corbin's partner in Mill Brew Holdings, which is the tenant franchisee for 7 Brew Coffee. Address 9605 North Lake Drive, Bayside, Wisconsin.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You bet. Could we go back to the site plan? Sure. Cool. I can share as much or as little as everyone wants to hear. Could be here till 7 if you want it. But we're excited about being in Green Bay. It's actually our second location in the area. We have one location open in Bellevue. We're actually working on a third location in Ashwaubenon. So we're looking forward to being a part of this community, and it's been great so far. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our service model for how we operate businesses. Similar to Chick-fil-A, we don't have an ordering board or an enunciator. We're using iPads and we're using our staff members in the lines to take orders. Our culture is about cultivating kindness, and kind of secondary to that is speed and efficiency. And that's really why it's important we call them texters. That's the position name for the individual who's in the line taking your order and greeting you. So in order to keep the line moving, when things get busy, the texters are working their way out to some of the cars shown here in the stacking plan, further and further out, so that as they are working their way through the line, their drink is ready when they're at the service window. We can typically keep this line moving in 3 to 4 minutes, unlike some of our competitors and our peers who take much longer. A couple things that are interesting to note. There's 600 locations open for 7 Brew in the country. By the end of the year, it might be 1,000. Brands growing rapidly. We operate 8 locations from Kenosha, and this is our northernmost unit. We appreciate that communities that we've been working with have allowed us to adapt the business model as we continue to grow. We've got some other franchisees as far north as like Bemidji, Minnesota, who are really suffering right now with both snow and cold weather. But our group has been very involved with corporate in terms of kind of redefining our standard operating procedures for operating in a cold weather climate. Not very little of what we've done is novel. I'd like to take credit for it, but we've really been taking some pages out of playbooks by others, again, including Chick-fil-A, who have figured out ways to offer their employees friendly ways to kind of deal with inclement weather, whether it's rain, snow, or cold temperatures. The idea of moving the warming hut any closer to the building would in some ways kind of obviate the concept of keeping our texters close to the end of the line where they can be of greatest service to our customers, which is why it was designed to be out there. We've taken great care in the design of the texter hut, which as mentioned is about 600 square feet. It's really meant to be kind of a respite from cold weather, from rain, even what we're hoping are some and looking forward to some hot sunny days as well. It's an area for staff members to get away from the elements. It's been designed in keeping with some of the same design principles for the building, so it fits in. One thing I think is unique about this site too, is that, while it is, inside of the setback area, there are some other attributes about the site where I don't think this is going to stick out like a sore thumb or set precedent. Namely, I think the outline and the dashed line where you see lane 1 and line 2, I think that's showing the shadow of the electronic billboard that's overhead, which projects, even further towards Mason from where our proposed texture hut is. So I think we're trying to be respectful, not proposing something on the outside lane of lane 2, which was at one point considered, but we brought it into the inside so that we'd be, nearest our sidewalk and inside sort of the shadow of the billboard. And I guess those are my opening comments. If you have any questions or feedback.
So can you or somebody point out where that billboard is?
Sure. This is the base.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the mouse.
There's got
Oh,
it.
I'll
I got
do
it.
it. I got it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, now I see it.
Right here.
So Garrett moved the billboard, which used to be, I think, over here.
That's
being here.
it's like a single pylon.
Correct. And then it cantilevers here.
Okay.
Yep. And I think it's like a little more of a V shape than what's illustrated, but I think that northern point is pretty accurate for where it's located.
Questions for our petitioner?
So this is the little hut. Too. Just in case you didn't
Yep.
see the John's mouse.
Oh, yes.
It's more, I think we've taken some care to make it look a lot like our buildings in terms of materials and colors. For all intents and purposes, it's basically a kind of similar to a bus stop, I guess, if you want to consider like a roof and a windbreak. But we've, it's got glazing, it's got glass, it's got, doors on it so that it's in keeping with the rest of the buildings, but it's essentially just a respite from the elements.
Just so I can understand here, and maybe this question is best for John, and would we be having the same conversation if we were talking about a covered drive-through area? And you brought up Chick-fil-A, I think they've got a covered drive-through area, much of their ordering area is covered. Are we having that same conversation in that context?
This is an accessory building. So it's placing the non-principal building in front of the principal building. If this was connected in some shape or form to the building itself. It could, and it wasn't an actual separate enclosure. It was like a canopy, if you will. It could be a different story as far as consideration, but. The code is looking at this from the lens of. It's a building, not the principal building. Check. It can't be on the face of code language placed between the primary and the roadway itself.
And in full transparency, we have some of the same canopies you might find at like a Chick-fil-A near what we call like the delivery door or window near the building. It's illustrated here, yeah.
Okay.
So if you go back to site plan 2, the next slide. So this section here is the canopy that you're probably familiar with. And we're right now, like, so.
Sorry, just a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. Like, I want to emphasize that, our culture is to cultivate kindness, and that starts by keeping staff happy and friendly. We have a unique issue in our hands in that we actually typically have a wait list for employees, which is great in the world that we live in. And we do that by creating a really fun environment, a place where people feel safe, welcome, and like enjoy coming to work. Usually when one person quits for whatever reason, one of our staff members is trying to get their friend hired. And so what we've been doing over the past couple of years, this is our 4th winter, is continuing to adapt and trying to give employees some level of comfort, despite the temperatures that we deal with.
Excuse me, my only question is, are you gonna be incorporating this sort of design into future site plans? And future buildings, I think, because weather is gonna dictate that, I think, so that's just what I'm curious about.
The short answer is probably. So this is a pilot program. This is our northernmost location.
Mhm.
We're rolling this out in 3 locations. We're gonna do it here. We're gonna do it in Delavan, Wisconsin. We'd like to do it in West Bend, Wisconsin as well. In the future, it would be our intent to come and get this approved as part of the initial plan, so we can look all the planning commissioners in the eye and say, this is what we'd like to do. But we're sort of building the plane as we're flying it right now.
Yep.
As it relates to some of these northern climates.
Yeah.
And so this is an adaptation. We think it's gonna work, and if it does, it will become a part of our SOP.
Awesome, understood, thank you.
Other questions? All right, thank you, sir, and
you.
we'll deliberate.
Can't see any way to see us through it. There's nothing exceptional about the circumstances, this is entirely self-inflicted. Slightly stunned that you put a business under that didn't have a warming shaft, you can. I don't see, they have options other than this, I don't see any way to get through these five requirements, and we have to go through these five requirements. It's not an exceptional circumstance. Yeah. I don't know about preservation of town, copyright, maybe. There's no hardship here either, Pass it to the building in front, it qualifies, you don't even have to be here. Or put it in the back, I have an opinion, but I don't know, guys, I don't see any way to get through these.
Well, let's go up to just the first question here of exceptional circumstances. Does anybody see anything about this request that shows that there's some exceptional circumstances on this site that is like, unusual or different than what other drive-through businesses in that district are facing? Anybody?
I wanna find a way to yes, but I don't.
I'm just gonna find a way to say yes, please,
Yeah.
I don't see one.
Agreed, I understand it's a pilot program, and I know, I'm trying to formulate some way with exceptional circumstance. Not even thinking about the rest of the requirements, a new business model isn't necessarily this sort of different business model instead of going up to the order screen, having someone come out to you. I don't know that that's necessarily exceptional, but it is different and, people are obviously asking for it. There's demand for it. There's a reason that Chick-fil-A, Seven Brew places are growing, and part of it at least has to be that customer service model.
Sure, but in an extreme climate, you can see that need, you can see the need for shelter for the employees from the order. The need that speaks of self-inflicted.
Well, I'm kind of seeing what I'm hearing Brian say there is that, if you look at this, the exceptional, extraordinary, or unusual circumstances or conditions apply to the lot, well, not in this case, or intended use. And I think having staff outside at a drive-through, as part of your intended use is unusual. So, I might go for an interpretation under exceptional circumstances that can see of me to passing that test for number one, or for number two, I guess.
Yeah.
Can we see any of the others?
I think I can probably, preservation of property rights, I think we can probably get away with that, it's always pretty good. Absence of detriment. I don't think that's really a problem, it's an issue. Hardship,
Honestly, the one I'm having the hardest time with is the preservation of town. So I think
Yeah.
your intent is to keep your primary structure as the whole basin structure on the property. That I'm open to any argument about that, so that part, I can help you get clear on. I'll say. Right there on.
But I'm tough on preservation, I'm tough on hardship too, this isn't a problem with a lot, it's just a problem because. When. It's hard for me to say that I wanna. Make an exception to the rules for that.
This site seems to me to be positioned so that the service delivery that I get my coffee, I'm at the back of the lot. Not at the front of the lot. I mean, it's like the whole use is reversed. And although we're looking at this accessory building being closer to the right of way in the frontage. It seems like it's at the back, or the way the site's laid out.
Depends for the use of the site, but I would even say traditionally how we would look at a building and maybe how the code is designed is as we're driving by or going, walking past it, you know, we're looking at the site and.
Yeah.
Although in this case, I think the Fisher pointed out, you're looking at a billboard, right? I mean, that's gonna be the most dominant. John, do we have a photograph of that?
I have one, I can grab it if you don't have one.
Not have one, no.
I'd love to see a street view
Yeah.
to see where that, how that billboard looks there.
Would be helpful.
So here's I don't have a street view. I was trying to take a photo. We purchased some time on the billboard for it. So I can kind of walk this down as well. But I think with this picture, I'm essentially standing where those egress arrows are. Looking back at the building.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
see the building.
So basically, if you see this light, that light pole is probably adjacent to where the hub is located.
Yeah.
And so it
In
might
terms
be,
of the visual presentation of that, I mean, you're not even gonna notice.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of my point for noticing it. I'm not sure if my feedback, any of your comments are welcomed. If they're not, that's fine. One thing that I've encountered in working with many municipalities on this concept is. And it's of no fault of city staff or planning commissioners or anyone else, but retail and service models are moving pretty quickly. So in many instances, I'd cite one in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Where we got approved, staff has been having a hard time really determining what we are. Sometimes zoning codes for drive-throughs cite specific to defined terms like food. We don't serve food. As a matter of fact, we only serve beverages. So in certain municipalities, they've had a difficult time classifying us just because concepts like ours, and it's not unique, many different brands are going to drive-through only models. We don't fit the contemporary zoning code. Which I'm probably reaching on this one, but if you're looking for a way to say yes, I would say an extraordinary circumstance is this the evolution, the quick evolution of the zoning codes, which aren't necessarily keeping up with contemporary retail concepts. Most zoning codes require that a drive-through have an enunciator, an ordering board, and a window. When in fact, as a gray area, which readily admit, we don't have a board, we have iPads, we don't have an enunciator, we have individuals. And we don't have a drive-through window, we have doors where people come up to your car, like you do a Chick-fil-A and service you. And I only cite these as examples for maybe the hardship being in a zoning code. Which just due to operational inefficiencies and all challenges of a municipality hadn't kept up with some of the more contemporary codes. The HUD that we're proposing is pretty similar to ones that you've probably all seen. Culver's is using them, Chick-fil-A is using them. You know, many drive-throughs are using detached structures to provide some climatization for their staff.
John, go ahead.
I'll just note this, there are many times where folks do have uses that are be questionable, can blur lines between individual uses. This is clearly a drive-through restaurant use. And the code was updated in the past few years to allow ways in the future or in a contemporary that became the future. For instance, allowing for a drive-through to be placed in front of a building with a 15-foot setback off of the right of way itself. Additionally, requiring the space to allow for stacking of vehicles to the pickup points of an order. It's so to note, this site plan was submitted and approved in summer of this past year. So This is a very modern site plan that is not trying to adjust to let's say an old fashioned, or a non-contemporary building, but this was created relatively recently.
Sure. John, go back to the test if you would, please.
Will do.
One thing I would add is that as it relates to number 6, conditions, we're very open to feedback on conditions. The primary challenge that we're trying to solve is cold weather. The HUD is designed in a way where it's movable. It has 4 pockets. There'll be a heater in the HUD. It's connected through a temporary electrical whip to a pylon. So it could very easily be moved either offsite or behind the building during, say, warmer months. We would be open to flexibility through conditions.
So it's not a permanent structure either.
It sounds like you want to build a permanent structure, but you're willing to have it be a movable structure.
We would love for it to be permanent in the sense that it stays there year round. Its construction type is such that it could be. If that makes sense. I'm not trying to be clever with the answer, but
No, I get
but it's
it.
built, but it's built like, it's got 4 pockets. It's gonna be set on a concrete slab.
Right, but not secured to the concrete.
Correct.
Does that even count as a permanent structure, John?
As far as this is getting the building code,
Because we have
realities.
conditional use permits for like the animal shelter and things like that for movable things, but we were never.
Although this, as far as, there are times where, temporary use permits have been asked for and granted. In a situation where it's really temporary place structures, but temporary use permits are still subject to code itself.
Fair enough.
What's the intent, John, of the not having accessory buildings in front of the primary structure?
Suggest the intent is that you accessory building structure is the accessory, it is a incidental use to the principal or primary structure of the property. And so whether it's commercial or if it's residential, we have a limitation as to what the accessory use is. It doesn't become the principal outlook of the overall structure itself. I'll note that back into our residential code, we have a very similar situation, especially with the code changes that were approved in December of this past year, to where the idea of an accessory structure being on a site, as long as it doesn't become the feature of the site to those who are going by and passing by as the public, or the first view, the code is acceptable with it, but it's to have the primary use be the focal component of the parcel itself.
I would argue that the primary use of this is the cars. Because you've already made it so that the cars are the first thing you see as you drive past this use, because you've got the permission for drive-throughs now to have the traffic going in front of the building, between the building and the street. You know, and so you've got a billboard, you've got cars, and then behind all that, you've got the first structure here. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not, you know, if you were saying, well, we think, you know, it's to keep sheds from being in front of buildings because sheds tend to be uglier than other buildings. That, you know, I get that. I certainly get that in a residential district, but where we've already put 2 lanes of traffic between the street and the building and a billboard. How are we, you know, what are we trying to do? What are we trying not to do by just having another thing there? And so I'm struggling. I guess I'm not, the spirit, purpose and intent of the regulations are. To have an efficient flow and nobody to get stuck in the drive-through lane or for emergency vehicles to be able to access the. Property if somebody's in trouble or, all those things, but. I mean, looking at the way this site is laid out, and I'm struggling to see how. This is would be inconsistent with the intent, because the intent is. Make it easy for cars to use this thing.
It's the intent of the regulation, not the intent of the site.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right,
The intent
but-
of the regulation
The
now,
regulation is to keep buildings up, accessory buildings from in front of the other building.
yeah, but it doesn't matter here because you're just seeing cars. When you,
There's not always cars in the drive-through. I mean,
yeah,
the intent's pretty plain and clear. I think, don't have an accessory in front of the building. I don't know why they did that, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
because it's certainly not aesthetics.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had my way, we'd cut the billboard down and I'd give him his bill, but, I mean, that's. I,
All right, can anybody see preservation of intent? Other than me, kind of. Can anybody see preservation of intent here?
I can't see that, and I can't see hardship either. And I'll make a joke that a year ago at my first meeting, I voted yes on something that I should not have voted yes on. I have no business.
Don't add that to the record.
Yes. It didn't go through. That was my first meeting, but anyway, no, 1 in 5, I don't see how we can get through based on the zoning code. That's written in there. I don't know.
I'm gonna move that we deny the application. That's what.
We've got a motion to deny, is there a second? A second. Any discussion? We got a motion and a second to deny the request.
Ask a question?
Oh, no, unless you're a party to this.
Nope.
Okay. We've got a motion to deny and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. 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 Sorry.
Sorry, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving on to appeal 26-03, consideration with possible action on a variance request from Brianna Hammersley, applicant and property owner requesting to exceed driveway standards for a 1 or 2 family residence at 1035, 1039 Bellevue Street. You are not Brianna.
I could be, but I'm not.
You got a very pretty phone, maybe you are.
That's my daughter. She is on her way. I've spoken with you as far as her son is. Doctor's appointment, but is on her way.
And is this Brianna Hammersley who works at NeighborWorks Green Bay?
It is.
All right,
You got an interest.
gentlemen, can you please confirm the following for this appeal by stating I confirm? I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I concur.
I cannot confirm that. I am Brianna Hammersley's employer.
I would be happy to step in and share the support of the meeting.
All right, let me also ask, I have not received any communication from any person or party about this.
No,
I confirm.
I concur.
And I can confirm that too, but I need to recuse myself because.
And I didn't know that.
Well, luckily we
waiting
still have a
for-
quorum, so.
Yeah.
So
Should be okay.
so we can still make the decision, so.
Can I ask a question about the other thing first? Is that possible?
Sure.
Well, no, it's up to the chair, but this is not.
Josh, now.
Yes.
I mean,
It's got nothing to do with anything.
well, it's kind of closed on that issue. Thanks, Noel.
Gentlemen, since there's no other action, it's something to take on.
Thanks, Noel. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Is Brianna, long from being here?
No, but I can probably answer most of, unless she absolutely has to be here, but she is. In hope.
It's up to the chair. He can proceed with this, but if we want to hold for a moment, we can.
I'm fine with beginning preliminary discussions here and then we can take some testimony here and then Brianna's here by the time we get to the final point. So, here we go. The board will, hear from staff first, and then the applicant, staff, please state your name and address for the record.
John Leroy, Leroy Bay.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth?
Yes. Okay, so, we do see driveway standards for 1 or 2 family residents at a duplex at 1035, 1039 Philadelphia Street. So what comes into play here is section 44-1746 sub 3, driveway width sub front yard space is limited to no greater than 8 feet in width beyond the garage or opening, but shall not be located in front of the primary residence. This is the part of the code that's the caveat for any attached one stall garage, in this case, per unit. There is the front yard exception that space can be added, no greater than 8 feet, but shall not be located in front of the primary residence. So just keep in mind, if this was a 2-stall garage, you couldn't add on to the side of it.
Okay.
This is a 1-stall attached, and so that's where this exception is being taken from. So the applicant is seeking to create a front yard space beyond the garage or opening, but it's located in front of the primary opening to the home on both sides, and we're gonna say here in a moment. So this is the property, corner lot, some duplexes, and there's some other duplexes on this lot, which we'll get into with what the applicant had submitted forth with other situations that are nearby in the neighborhood. So you're seeing here a photo of our wonderful winter weather and what was created at the site. And what you can see here pretty clearly is 2-family home, both have a single stall garage. Concrete was added to both sides of the driveway, and it leads directly into the front door of both sides. There's another picture from the street showing the concrete that was added. So this came in parts. I'll go back to that here, through a site plan that was approved back in September, where it was noted that the request was to add in some patio space in the back and replace a porch, a 1-step here on the southern or right part of the overall plan. So that received approvals. The case that was coming to play here was the person who was inspecting was saying, hey, don't go over for your impervious surface in this property with what you're trying to do and stay up the side yard setback in the back property. That was what was noted here in this thread, but there was no mention of adding on driveway space to the approvals. And this is a building permit form that was approved back in September. So addition to patio and front porch is what the basic request was at that time from the property owner and from the contractor. So I'll just take this back now to the intent of where we're going with all this. So these stalls that got added when it came to construction. The building inspection folks came out in later part of 2025 to inspect, and that's when these driveways were added on to the plan itself in violation of the code by having the driveway that leads to vertical front entrance. So we get back into why do we have this? What's the point of this code? There are a few things. So one of the main reasons is clear access for emergency services, be it fire, police, EMTs, to where you are not blocked by an automobile to get into the front entry of a home. Secondarily, but I still think having emphasis is clear access for pedestrians, be it delivery drivers, guests, neighbors, the pizza delivery guy, somebody who's showing up who has to have access to get to that front door. Where is it? Next, reduction of emphasis of the accessory use, i.e. the driveway parking. Our code, this is the exception for driveway parking. It's recognizing there was a problem for folks who had attached 1-stall garages. What do? Allowing for more room to expand, but not turn the entire front yard into a parking lot. And so they're having those exceptions here for these type of things. I will note, as noted in the report, did speak with the fire department. In this case, the fire department feels that because of the existing large bay windows on this building, they don't have a problem for their part to get into this building because they will just simply smash windows down if they had to. Now, that said, if there wasn't a reason for an emergency where the fire department had to enter in that way, that would be a very drastic measure to be taken to go inside there, and it's not typically something they'd want to do, but that is something that Captain Coolman of the fire department noted that this is a large entry because of the building design that's independent of this building itself. As noted from what the applicant had put forth, in this neighborhood itself, there are a number of either two families or larger ranch homes that have situations that appear to have a somewhat similar nature as to what was done on this site. And so the applicant noted 3 different addresses. One being at 927 Bellevue Street, where you're seeing a 2-cell garage where they happen to have some parking that is off at an angle that goes beyond the garage. So this photo here is taken from 2023. Looking back into records from 1998, in this situation, I do not know if there was a variance granted, say, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but it was clear based off of previous records that this is a legal non-conforming parking lot or driveway situation based off of requests to improve the driveway now nearly 30 years ago for this site. So this driveway, the way it's constructed right now, legal non-conforming. If they came back asking to do a full-on reconstruction, they would need to provide, was there actually a variance on this? If there wasn't, couldn't reconstruct this again. If there was, and the dimensions were shown out, that's fine. The variance lasts in perpetuity. So the actions taken here today will last for generations to come. Next one, a situation over at 1121 Bellevue. This was a variance taken back in 2010, asking for extra space in this property. They granted that. I want to note the driveway and parking code had a major rewrite around 2009. By major rewrite, they changed code numbers up, things of that sort. My reading of what happened back then was this part of the code, I don't believe, as far as stipulating front yard exceptions, wasn't there. So this was added. They asked for a variance at that point to allow for additional pavement room, and they got that. So this variance was approved. This one, variance back in 2009, before the code change happened. This is just interpretation or reading the context clues. I believe variances like this may have been part of the push to change code back around 2009, 2010, because there were a number of these. They have 2 of these in a row back in 09 and 10. As you can see here, similar situation, driveway going in front of the front door of a home. And you can see on this updated street view photo that concrete has been replaced, and it's replaced because there was a variance that was granted in 2009. They can keep on doing that variance year into the future. So what the applicant had noted is, yes, there are situations in that neighborhood where, at least in these last 2, they would not meet the intent. They did receive a variance in 09 and 10 for that. And then this one here is of a similar nature, but not necessarily, can't really tell me. That is the front door. It's right there. So it has a similar quality. It doesn't meet what code has in mind here. So yeah, applicant is seeking to essentially keep what they have poured here back in fall of 2025 and have a driveway that covers the front door entrance.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Ballardini, 829 West Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 503.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be true?
I do.
What can you tell us about this situation?
Couple different things, and I agree, I know the various factors. Gonna apologize on the, first of all, because that was the first time I've seen the permit. And the thing is. I was to make the complete factor that what the gentleman who was pulling the permit. Had written down a lot more than what he had done. So that one there, this is the first time I've seen that. The fact that, and I know the new variant factors, but there is a house that's better to see that is behind Brianna's house. Which there was a picture of one that was in the overhead. Behind where her star is, if you go back one house over one, that house is new. Yep, that one. And that one there has a driveway that extends well beyond the door. My whole thing is Brianna wouldn't have broken any rules if she had known or written it. This was, she's not a construction person. She went by going through the neighborhood to see what she could do to improve for her tenants. That's the reason why it's being done. It's not because she was there, she's doing it to help her tenants. So with the fact of just everything that was done when she went around looking to see what could be done, she had picked houses that were in the neighborhood. And that's where the idea came from. So that's it's been poured, unfortunately. I'd ask the fact that because there are houses that are there, if it could be a variant, it would be great. We'd love it to be a said yes. Hardship wise, she's a younger person, got a couple of kids, so it's a money situation, hardship wise. But at the end of the day, she's gonna follow what the city states. And so we're not here still wanting to argue. My whole thing is I'm more disappointed in the actual person that pulled the permit. So shame on me for not looking, you know, because he poured my driveway. So it's one of them situations, it is what it is. It came up that this is incorrect, and if we can't get a variance, something has to be done about it, that's all.
Why was that? Or what's the purpose behind it from?
The fact that there's that driveway was so tiny. And that if you've got people that got two vehicles, even going into that garage. It looks like it's a split garage. There's no wall in the middle of the garage. So when those two vehicles are inside, you can't, the person getting out of one on the right hand side. Can barely get out of the vehicle. There was just no room. It was to give people the ability to park. Without damaging the other person's vehicle. There just was zero room. That's really all it was. You know.
Any questions for this gentleman? And is Brianna, you said you had her phone, was she not able to?
She
call in?
is bringing, she could probably get it out. She is bringing, her son had a doctor's appointment.
So I think we can take phone testimony as long as somebody's here.
Somebody is here, and if you're representing someone, you can do that, but we can also wait here for Brianna to. Phone testimony will work just fine. Sure. Well, I need to ask her,
Yes.
just reaffirm.
And I think that she had said that she had talked to someone today that she could do it on the phone.
Yes.
But I don't know if they
Yeah.
actually live inside the hospital or what the appointment was.
Yep, I let her know as long as somebody is here in person, so.
Yes, she knew she was hoping that would be all straight. Because we were here last week, but
You were.
didn't have a third,
My fault, my apologies.
no problem. I was ready
The
to
call has
speak,
been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
so she must be it.
Yeah. I don't know that the applicant herself to have a whole lot of additional testimony and be comfortable having a discussion about this now. Or
I mean. I want her to feel that she's had her voice. That being said, I think the chances of success are fairly low. I know previous boards have approved this kind of thing, but they didn't have the same goals we have. Those 5 conditions tie our hands a lot. And I was here during that transition.
Brianna?
Forwarded to an automated voice.
Okay, good. Sorry. Those 5 conditions, I was here during the transition from the previous board to this board. They're new, and is there,
Sorry,
yeah, it's okay.
okay, you're on speakerphone, Bree.
What?
You're on speakerphone. You on your way or you still at the office?
No, I just got done. I'm on my way. If it's still happening.
How long would it take you to get here?
How long will it take us to get downtown? Like 10 minutes.
Is there anything? You're on, Ashley. Is there anything that you want to say that I didn't or wouldn't have already said?
And before you do, Brianna, if you could, for our purposes, could you state your name and address for the record?
Presley, 250 Dolphin Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
By the way, this is Josh Cook. We met last week. Thanks again for making yourself available this evening. What can you tell us about this variance application, knowing that we've got 5 conditions that we need to satisfy here?
I'm not sure, Anthony, what to do. I guess what exactly.
It's the fact of what you have to try to beat and overcome to get the city to allow the variance grant.
Mhm.
So, and it's a high standard. So is there anything besides the fact of going through the neighborhood and getting the ideas from the other driveways, or the fact that the contractor that was hired and filled out the permit and was vague and
Like car crashes for my tenants from parking on the side of the street that they've had issues with, so I mean parking on the street isn't really an option for them. That's why we made the space so they could park in front of the home.
anything else?
I guess what are like the questions or what?
When's the next one?
No, that was something else. Just anything else that you can state that would say this is why this driveway needs to be that way.
Can you think of anything?
I didn't know about the accident, so that one there's an excellent thing because I didn't state that. So that's a huge. That might be enough.
Is
So,
there anything else you can think of?
so it's the accident and safety factors. Because it doesn't take away from the front yard. As far as I can see.
I mean, there's tons of properties in that area.
Yeah, we're not gonna even go there. The codes had changed in 2009 and 10-ish. So the fact of, because I did not know, and I'm glad you stated, the fact that the accidents, that's a big thing as far as I'm concerned, because mine was to get more parking for the tenants. I didn't realize the fact that the accidents parking on the street, that just completely slipped my mind because I don't have to deal with that. So it's a big safety issue. They've already brought up the factor of the,
They can't park in the city either. You're not allowed to park in the street.
Very. Brianna, this is zoning administrator John Leroy. I just want to let you know what the board members are seeing right now. Are that they need to come up with our 5 findings of fact as per state statutes. And what they are looking to note is that there's a preservation of intent. That this variance would not be inconsistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of regulations for the district. That they are looking for exceptional circumstance, that there is exceptional, extraordinary, or unusual circumstance or conditions which apply to the lot. That do not generally apply to other properties or uses in the same district or area. But the variance is not so general or recurrent in nature that to suggest that the zoning ordinance should be changed. There is a preservation of property rights. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of the same substantial property rights which are possessed by other properties in the same district and vicinity. There is an absence of detriment. The variance will not create substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair or be contrary to the spirit, purpose, and intent of the chapter 44, work of the public interest. And there's a hardship that the alleged difficulty complying with the municipal code is not self-imposed, nor is it based solely on economic grounds. So if you have anything further you'd like to say that could be helpful to address those questions for the board members, that would help your testimony.
I don't think so.
Do we have any questions for Brianna from the board? Right, with that, then we will close testimony and discuss the application. Brianna, if you are able, since you are the applicant, if you can hang on the phone, you're certainly welcome to listen to what we talked about here.
Okay.
And we will begin talking. I don't know that the variance here is necessarily consistent with the spirit of the regulation. The ordinance allows for parking. It allows for parking this type of situation with a single stall garage. The issue is there that egress or ingress and egress from that door? And brutal as it may be, the fire department, which is one of the primary safety concerns, seems okay with busting a window.
Yeah, my concern is more along the lines of somebody on discretion. The car's too close to the house. I don't think this one is as great as the other ones that we put up. All those other ones looked like the front door was 4 feet off the front of the car, which you never get a stretcher in and out of there, which would be a concern. Although this one, I don't know that it's quite that bad.
Right. I don't know if from a condition standpoint, if there's some sort of screening we can impose so that we can maintain that ingress or egress.
Without letting them go farther into the front.
I don't want to be unnecessarily clumsy with it.
Whatever point. Just, this is not noted because you brought it up here. But when talking with FD on this, they did feel that there's a condition, if you did feel that all 5 were met as far as conditions that you need to meet. This with the 6th one being added in a further condition, they would suggest at that point to require that stoop be extended at least 4 feet beyond the driveway. So that it would go beyond into the grass area to where cars would not be parked in front of it. This would then, it's maybe a challenge because of the bay windows, but that is a suggestion that was voted by our department if you felt all 5 were met.
Am I able to say anything now or no?
I would entertain a motion to reopen the floor.
I still move.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second, any further discussion? There were none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Brianna, you are now welcome to talk. Sorry about some of the formalities here.
No one. So am I able to like ask question? Is there a concern like you can't get into the property?
A little bit around emergency services.
So like a back door, like that they use. Like there's two doors. The door goes into the kitchen in the back, and then there's a door in the front that goes to the living room.
And that's understood, I think, when, in case of emergency, my suspicion is that the. Police and fire department want to have the quickest way into the house, rather than probably on the back door would be my best guess.
Okay, yeah, because there's like a patio and like two from the street. I mean, the back door would probably be the best because Bellevue Street is very busy and trying to get in the driveway. I mean, they would probably be going through the back door anyways. On this, because you would park on the side and then the patio's right there, and then you get into the house.
Other discussion, questions, thoughts?
I don't see anybody get through that, you know, the safety factors are come into play, maybe, John, can you bring up the list again? The five conditions? Sure. I mean, I don't know that we can get through the five conditions with safety as a factor, and we've traditionally turned this kind of request down. But that being said, this neighborhood is also rife with previous boards that have not, but they didn't have the same rules we do. So from a safety standpoint, I mean, I think I can probably get past the preservation of intent from a safety standpoint. Exceptional circumstances, that one's tough. All these houses in this area have the same problem. The speech memorial may be a problem with the property. So I don't think the property is extraordinary, and I don't think having a busy street is necessarily extraordinary, although we did extend some grace to people with Sean. But that was a different ask. That was for a turnaround, not a parking spot. And then I don't think it's a detriment to the neighborhood. But I do think that it is. I do think that the we can't consider the cost of replacing it, unfortunately, or coming into code. I don't know that there's any real hardship there. I don't know. I mean, the safety thing comes to mind, but I don't know that there is a way to quantify that you live on a busy street and anybody doesn't do overnight parking. I mean, run into this a couple of times, and that's not, you know. I don't know, I'm trying to talk this through.
I mean, I would at least suggest that maybe there's an exceptional circumstance, at least one of the properties that we saw. With the maybe at some point granted variance sometime way back when, is a much deeper property that has some driveway parking than this one.
This one has none. That's a good point.
Right up.
That is a good point. That is a good point. And that's on that little corner piece there. There's no back, there's no more back to build.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no sidewalks in there, so there's no problem with covering the pancake.
No, there's a sidewalk here.
Really? It doesn't look like on the overhead map.
It's
Look like-
yeah,
oh,
it's right on the.
Oh, yeah,
other
look
side
at
of the
that.
line.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you can see it.
Thought there were, I drive by it all the time.
Yeah.
My eyes deceiving me.
I recognize that orange Chicago Bears. Don't yell at it.
Yeah. I don't. It's really hard for me to say yes to a lot of these.
I'll jump in just based on the different driveway requests that we've seen, or I've seen in the last year. Yeah, I don't know how we can get past the 5, especially hardship. Yeah, I don't know that we can get past our requirements.
Any further discussion at all, otherwise it sounds like we may be building the motion.
Just close it out, yeah, the floor is open right now.
I'm sorry, we were, entertain a motion first to close the floor.
Some,
Motion second, for discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Aye. No motions.
I motion to, disapprove the application.
Motion to the second.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to deny the variance?
I,
Hey. Very sorry,
Sorry,
certainly
I'm
feel
really
for
weird.
you.
And this is nothing on, nothing on having the permit or anything, but it really isn't about.
Yeah, no,
Because everybody makes mistakes, I understand.
you get that, Bree?
Kind of,
Oh, okay. I'll talk to you when I get home.
okay.
Alright.
Bye.
Oh, completely understood. Like I said, I just. So then the outcome is, what do we need to do?
the outcome is that the building inspector will be back in touch with you with the orders that were put to remove. The work will be as much as possible within the code to try to keep as much of it as possible.
What was the thing, just out of curiosity about extending something out, was that a possibility? That would be changing your whole
Yeah.
entire code.
Would be, yes.
Okay,
So that would have been a condition had the rest of the.
maybe met, yes, yeah, that makes sense, okay. All right, well, then I will look over it, but that's what I did. I thought the contractor knew what he was doing. I know he's fine.
As he should.
Yes, he should. Oh, all righty, thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
you coming back again this week.
No
Thank you
problem
so
again, I
much.
was just right up this.
Again, my apologies.
Sorry. You guys have a great day.
You
Anybody
too.
here on an RV? Because I might see you one day and I'll charge you extra.
Okay,
All right, have a good day.
you too.
Moving on to our agenda, our next meeting is on our regular night of Monday, February 16th, 2026. And that final item is would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
We have a second, we have a second, any further discussion, hearing none in honor of our fearless leader, on favor, say bye.
Bye.
So